What if your greatest enemy was the voice in your head? David Goggins was broken, abused, overweight, ignored. But he didn't accept his limits. He destroyed them. Through pain, he built power. Through struggle, he found freedom. Can't Hurt Me is not a story of survival. It's a blueprint for mental toughness, forged in fire. Welcome to Thinknova, where excuses die and the fight to greatness begins. David Goggins' life began in an environment that most would find unbearable. Born into poverty and domestic violence, his early years were defined by struggle. His father was a violent man whose anger often exploded within the household, leaving scars not only on the walls but deeply etched in the young David's spirit. The abuse was a constant shadow, a relentless force that threatened to crush any hope or dream. But even amidst this darkness, a spark burned quietly inside him, a spark fueled by a stubborn refusal to be broken. From the earliest moments of his childhood, David knew life would not be easy. He was physically larger than many of his peers, but lacked strength and confidence. School was a battlefield where he was often mocked and bullied for his size and poor academic performance. The taunts chipped away at his self-esteem, planting seeds of doubt that whispered he was destined to fail. Yet despite the bruises and the isolation, he clung to the idea that he was more than what his circumstances suggested. The neighborhood where David grew up was tough, filled with dangers that lurked beyond the front doors of the houses. Gangs, drugs, and crime were common, creating a daily atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. The poverty around him was suffocating, a cage that seemed impossible to escape. Yet even in these harsh conditions, David's mind began to grasp a powerful truth: that suffering was not the end, but the beginning of something greater. He realized that pain, in its many forms, was a teacher. Instead of running away or succumbing to despair, David started to face his hardships head-on. This mental shift was subtle at first, like the flicker of dawn breaking through a long night. He began to understand that his past did not define his future. The power to change rested within him, waiting to be claimed. As a teenager, David's weight and lack of discipline held him back. His physical health was poor, and he struggled with self-control. But a moment of clarity came when he decided to take ownership of his life. He set a goal: to join the military and become a Navy SEAL, one of the toughest and most elite forces in the world. This goal became his beacon, guiding him through the darkness. The path to becoming a Navy SEAL was brutal. David faced obstacles that tested every ounce of his willpower. At one point, his weight was so high that recruiters rejected him outright. Instead of surrendering, he took this rejection as a challenge. He threw himself into an intense regimen of running, swimming, and weight training. His days began before the sun rose and ended long after it set. The numbers on the scale dropped steadily, but the transformation was more than physical. It was a transformation of character. David developed what he later called his cookie jar, a mental collection of victories and hard-won lessons from his past. Whenever he faced new trials, he would reach into this cookie jar and draw strength from memories of past triumphs. This reservoir of resilience became a powerful weapon in his arsenal, reminding him that if he could overcome before, he could do so again. Navy SEAL training, known as BUD-S, was designed to break candidates physically and mentally. The training pushed David to his limits and beyond. The long runs on rocky beaches, the endless swimming in cold water, the relentless obstacle courses, they all seemed designed to crush the weak and reveal the strong. David endured injuries, exhaustion, and moments of despair, but he refused to quit. Every failure was met with renewed determination. One of the most infamous parts of SEAL training was Hell Week, a grueling 5.5-day ordeal with barely any sleep. It was a crucible where the mind was tested against fatigue and pain. David's approach was to embrace the suffering, to welcome it as part of the process of becoming something greater. Through this mindset, he not only survived Hell Week, but thrived, earning his place among the elite. After completing SEAL training, David continued to push himself to new extremes. He undertook ultra-endurance challenges that seemed designed to test the limits of human endurance. These races were not just about physical stamina. They were mental wars fought against the voice inside that begged to stop. Running 100 miles through deserts or mountains, swimming in icy waters, or cycling for hours, each challenge was a lesson in the power of the human will. David's philosophy was simple yet profound. Suffering is inevitable, but how we respond to it defines us. He believed that discomfort was the pathway to growth, that pain was a tool to sharpen the mind and strengthen the spirit. Instead of avoiding hardship, he sought it out, using it as fuel to become better, faster, stronger. His story is not one of sudden success, but of relentless effort. It is a chronicle of waking up each day with the choice to get better, to push harder, and to refuse excuses. The battles he fought were often silent, internal wars against doubt, fear, and weakness. Yet through perseverance he emerged victorious, proving that true strength lies in the mind. David's journey teaches that our limits are not fixed. They are boundaries set by our own minds, and with discipline, courage, and a refusal to quit, those boundaries can be shattered. His life is a testament to the idea that no matter how dark the past or daunting the present, the future can be shaped by the strength of one's will. After surviving the brutal trials of Navy SEAL training, David Goggins' journey was far from over. In fact, it was only beginning. His time in the military revealed a truth that would shape the rest of his life, that the mind is capable of far more than the body believes, and that mental toughness is the key to unlocking human potential. David's dedication to pushing beyond pain became legendary among his peers. He sought out challenges that would break others, using extreme physical tests as a way to train his mind to endure. This mental conditioning was not simply about toughness for toughness's sake. It was about preparing for the unknown, for the unpredictable moments when the will to continue was the only difference between success and failure. One of the most striking examples of David's mindset was his participation in ultra-endurance events. These were not ordinary races. They were epic battles against time, terrain, and one's own body. The Badwater Ultramarathon, considered one of the toughest foot races on Earth, tested runners over 100 miles through Death Valley, where temperatures soared above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The conditions were merciless, and many competitors dropped out, but David saw it as another opportunity to grow. During these events, his body was pushed to the brink of collapse, but his mind refused to surrender. He learned to accept pain as a natural state rather than a signal to stop. Every step taken in the scorching heat or biting cold was a lesson in perseverance. His approach was methodical, breaking down the race into small goals, focusing only on the immediate step ahead, rather than the daunting distance remaining. David developed a philosophy of callousing the mind, similar to how the skin hardens after repeated friction. By deliberately subjecting himself to discomfort and hardship, he toughened his mental resilience. This callousing was not easy. It required him to embrace fear, fatigue, and failure repeatedly. But each experience made him stronger, more prepared for the next challenge. In addition to his physical feats, David's story is marked by his refusal to let his past define him. The wounds of childhood trauma did not vanish, but he learned to face them rather than bury them. He spoke openly about the abuse he endured, using his story not to elicit sympathy, but to inspire others to confront their own pain. His vulnerability was a source of strength, a reminder that even the darkest experiences can be transformed into power. David's commitment to self-discipline extended beyond training and races. His daily routine was regimented, beginning early in the morning with intense workouts, meditation, and reflection. He believed that success was built on habits formed through consistency and sacrifice. Rest and comfort were luxuries that could weaken the mind, so he sought a life of intentional struggle. This relentless pursuit of growth was not without setbacks. David experienced injuries that threatened to derail his progress. There were moments when his body broke down, and the temptation to quit was overwhelming. Yet even in these times, he applied the same principle, acknowledged the pain but refused to be controlled by it. His life after the military also included work as a motivational speaker and author, where he shared his principles with a wider audience. The lessons he imparted were simple but powerful. Embrace accountability, seek discomfort, and build an unbreakable mind. Through his talks and writings, millions found encouragement to face their own fears and limitations. One of the core ideas David emphasized was the concept of the accountability mirror. This was a practice of looking honestly at oneself each day, acknowledging flaws and mistakes without excuses. The mirror became a tool for self-awareness and growth, pushing him to confront uncomfortable truths and make changes. David's approach to challenges also included a mindset he described as the 40% rule. He believed that when the mind tells the body it is done, it is actually only at 40% of its true capacity. This insight reshaped how he approached pain and fatigue. It meant that the limits people accepted were often illusions, barriers they imposed on themselves rather than real constraints. Throughout his life, David Goggins showed that true power comes from embracing discomfort and facing fear directly. His story teaches that mental toughness is not innate, but developed through intentional practice and the willingness to suffer. By refusing to be a victim of circumstance, he transformed his life into a testament of what is possible when one commits fully to the process of growth. David Goggins' relentless pursuit of mental and physical excellence led him to confront new frontiers of human endurance. His story is not simply about overcoming external challenges, but about an ongoing internal battle against the limits imposed by fear, doubt, and pain. Each obstacle became a test of his ability to redefine what was possible. In the years following his Navy SEAL career and ultra-endurance competitions, David set his sights on breaking records. He understood that true growth required continuous discomfort, and so he embraced pain as a tool rather than an enemy. His mindset was clear. To find greatness, one must first endure hardship. One of the most dramatic chapters in his journey was his attempt to break the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours. Pull-ups, simple as they may seem, demand immense upper body strength and endurance. For David, this challenge was as much about mental toughness as physical capability. The repetitive motion became a metaphor for life's trials, each repetition a choice to push through pain and exhaustion. David's training for this feat was grueling. He would perform hundreds of pull-ups a day, sometimes until his hands were raw and bleeding. His body protested with every movement, but his mind remained unyielding. He visualized the goal, breaking it down into manageable parts, and drew on his cookie jar of past victories whenever doubts arose. When the day of the record attempt arrived, David faced not only the physical strain but also the mental warfare that accompanied prolonged suffering. The pain in his muscles and the fatigue in his lungs screamed for him to stop. Yet, he tapped into the reservoir of resilience built over years of hardship. With every pull-up, he reminded himself that limits were self-imposed and that true strength was forged in the struggle. This record attempt was not just about achieving a number. It was a statement of what the human spirit could endure when the mind refused to quit. It symbolized the power of accountability, discipline, and the refusal to accept mediocrity. Beyond physical challenges, David's journey also involved deep emotional work. He recognized that healing from childhood trauma was essential to fully harnessing his potential. He sought therapy and embraced vulnerability, understanding that true strength included facing inner demons. This process was painful but necessary, allowing him to reconcile with his past and channel his experiences into motivation. David's story inspired a movement, a call to arms for those who felt trapped by their circumstances. His message was clear. Everyone has a cookie jar filled with personal victories, and tapping into these can fuel transformation. By confronting pain and embracing suffering, anyone can rewrite their story. Throughout his life, David exemplified the principle that greatness is earned in the moments when no one is watching. The early mornings, the extra miles, the decisions to persist despite discomfort. These were the building blocks of an unbreakable mind. His legacy is not just in records or medals, but in the mindset he cultivated and shared with the world. The lessons from David Goggins' life extend beyond athletics or military service. They resonate in every area where discipline, perseverance, and courage are needed. His journey teaches that the path to mastery is paved with struggle, that pain is a companion rather than a foe, and that the boundaries we see are often illusions waiting to be shattered. In embracing this philosophy, David showed that suffering can be transformed into strength, that mental calluses can protect and empower, and that no matter the past, the future can be claimed through relentless effort and unwavering resolve. David Goggins' journey reached heights few could imagine, but the true triumph lay not in accolades or records, but in the mastery of his own mind. His story is a beacon for anyone facing the weight of adversity, a demonstration that no circumstance is final, and that pain is the forge where greatness is shaped. As he continued to push boundaries, David became a living example of what it means to embrace discomfort fully. His life was a constant cycle of challenge, growth, and renewed striving. With each step, he dismantled the narratives of limitation that society and even individuals place upon themselves. One of the most profound elements of David's philosophy is the idea that suffering is universal, but how we respond to it defines us. He believed that by leaning into discomfort, instead of avoiding it, people could develop an inner fortress, an unbreakable will that stands firm no matter the external storm. David's method was not to seek comfort, but to find freedom in struggle. This freedom came from knowing that the mind could overcome pain, fatigue, and fear. Through intentional hardship, he built mental calluses that protected him from life's inevitable challenges. His practice of self-accountability was rigorous. Every day began with honest reflection, acknowledging weaknesses and setting clear intentions for growth. He rejected excuses, understanding that they were the enemy of progress. In this relentless honesty, he found clarity and purpose. David's impact extended beyond his personal achievements. Through his books, speeches, and public appearances, he inspired millions to confront their own pain and redefine their limits. He encouraged people to develop their cookie jars, to fill them with memories of resilience, and use those memories as fuel in dark times. His message transcends physical fitness or military discipline. It is a call to awaken the warrior within, to refuse the easy path, and to commit to the grind of becoming stronger mentally and emotionally. David teaches that success is not a destination, but a continuous process of confronting discomfort and choosing growth. At the heart of his story is a powerful truth. The human spirit is capable of far more than we believe. Limits exist only in the mind, and by pushing beyond them, we discover new depths of strength and resilience. David Goggins embodies this truth, living proof that the path to greatness is paved with struggle, perseverance, and an unwavering refusal to quit. His life is a testament that anyone can rewrite their story. By embracing pain, accepting accountability, and building mental toughness, we can all become warriors of our own destiny. David's journey challenges us to face our fears, break through self-imposed barriers, and live a life defined not by circumstance but by courage and relentless effort. In the end, David Goggins shows that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Through discipline, resilience, and an unbreakable mind, we can transform hardship into power and pain into purpose. His story is an invitation to all who listen, to stand up, face the struggle, and discover that they too cannot be hurt. Your mind is the battlefield, and victory? It's earned through pain. David Goggins proved that greatness isn't born. It's built, rep by rep, mile by mile, day by brutal day. You don't need perfect conditions. You need an unbreakable mindset. If this story awakened the warrior within you, don't stop here. Subscribe to Thinknova, where limits are shattered and your strongest self is just getting started. Because now you know, you can't be hurt.